When it's as is. So I just take the numbers at their value. And that number doesn't mean much to me. I'm not going to offer based on that number. I just need to know as like, based on what it is, I want that as my anchor point. The truth is the projected stabilized value is far more important to me. So when I calculate my offer, it has very little to do with the as is offer. I'm sorry, with the as is value. My offer is going to be reverse engineered from the projected stabilized value. Here's what I think it could be worth. Obviously, I'm going to be realistic and err on the side of being conservative when I calculate that number. At the same time, I'm going to understand that if I'm conservative with every freaking assumption I make, I'm going to pencil myself out of every deal. And so I look to, as I'm projecting out that finalized value, I envision a scale. And if I'm a little aggressive with, let's say, my rental rates in the market, then I'm going to be a little conservative with my ramp up, which means how fast do I think I'm going to fill it up? Right. And so I want to counterbalance each assumption so that in the end, the bottom line is every assumption I make is going to be wrong. It's a good life lesson too. Every assumption you make is going to be wrong. You're not going to get it perfect. You're always going to miss the mark. The key is to not miss the mark by a lot. And if you miss the mark high, your next shot should miss the mark low, so that the net result after you get to the bottom of your spreadsheet is as accurate as possible. The line items, as far as how much are expenses going to be, how much income can I get? You're going to be either too high or too low on how much income you think you can get. And you're going to be, if you're too high on income, then you want to make sure you're guessing so that you think you'll be too low on each expense. And then at the bottom, it's all going to equal out in the wash. Hopefully that makes sense. But what we do to reverse engineer is, here's the stabilized value. It's going to be worth 1 million when we're done. Well, all I'm going to do is look at how much time, energy, and additional money am I going to have to invest into this property? And how much risk do I have to endure? Once I know the answers to those questions, I can simply start putting a price on each of them. Right? If it's going to be worth 100 grand, but I know it's going to be a heavy lift and it's going to take a lot of time, and I'm not completely certain that I'll actually get all the way to 1 million, all of those things are going to bring my offer down to 500K. Whereas if I'm really confident in all my assumptions, all I got to do is like buy it and plug in my software in my call center, turn on the marketing, and I'm done. Like I don't have to do a lot of work and there's no competition. So I'm confident that at the very least, I'm going to hit my $1 million projection and I might get to 1.2. Well, then am I willing to pay 800 for that same property? Yeah. It really just comes down to being compensated adequately for that which you have to endure to take it from whatever it is today to what you think it could be. Now, one side note is, this is true for me as every bit as it's true for you, except I don't have maybe as much of an appetite as many of you do. One of the benefits of taking one of the non-financial value that I receive from turning around a property is the experience and education and knowledge of turning around the property. And so it stands to reason that I might have really high expectations. Like I cherry pick. I'm not doing very many deals. If I can't double or triple in value, I don't want to do it. Well, that's not because I wouldn't learn something. It's just like I'm not all that hungry to learn something about storage right now. I got other things going on. But you guys, if you're hungry, then yeah, account for the fact that sure, I might only make 100 or 200 grand over the next 2 or 3 years, which isn't going to change my life necessarily, or maybe it will, who knows? But even if it's not, the knowledge that you acquire through going through the process, through doing what I call eating your shit sandwich, doing shit that's below your hourly wage because it's good for you, well, that could be the part that changes your life. You don't want to hold out for the home run deal if it prevents you from gaining the experience that will allow you to really make the changes you're seeking. Hopefully that makes sense.